Hey and welcome to the Competitive 40k podcast, brought to you by Vanguard Tactics. This is the 40k podcast where we help you analyse the meta and develop a strategy to help you become a better 40k player. I'm your host, Stephen Box, and it is my mission to help raise the standard of the game both on and off the tabletop. So on this week's episode, I am joined by Ben Jones, and Ben is one of the top UK Eldar players, and you met him last week on episode 1. And we cover his results at the Warhammer World GT this past weekend. We cover his list, how he prepared for the event, his matchups, and the game strategy he put in place to achieve a great winning record. So not only are we going to be covering Ben's achievements at the Warhammer World GT, but in our Better the Meta section, we are also going to be covering how to beat Tau. So we've picked a Tau list, and we're going to cover some top strategies to help you go against that matchup. If you have a question for the podcast, then head over to our Instagram, which is at the Vanguard Tactics, and just give us a follow and shoot us your direct message. And every week we'll pick the top questions and cover those at the end of every episode. So now on to this week's show with Ben. Mr. Ben Jones, welcome back to episode 2. How you doing, mate?
Hi, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing really well. Slowly getting over my cold. And it is quite funny actually because we recorded episode 3 yesterday, so we're actually recording this one now, which is episode 2, because I'm going away to Vegas on Friday, so just getting some in the bank ready. So yeah, mate, episode 2, here we go. We've had a really good response so far from episode 1, so thanks to everyone who has downloaded this on iTunes or Spotify or Podbean or wherever you are listening. Really appreciate it. And we're also giving away a little voucher at the moment, so if you head over to iTunes and you leave us a written review of what you think about the podcast, you'll be put into a prize draw, and you need to do that before the 30th of January. And on the 31st of January, I'm going to do a live draw on our Facebook page, and you'll see if you've won a voucher for a gaming store near you. So yeah, get over and do that for us. We'd be really grateful. And yeah, thanks so much. So episode 2, Ben, we're going to be talking today all about your adventure at the Warhammer World Grand Tournament Finals. So just for the guys listening, can you give a bit of a backstory behind the Warhammer World GT and how it works?
Yeah, so the competition's made up of 4 heats throughout the year, with the top 35 players qualifying, and each of the heats is 5 games with 5 randomly selected Eternal War missions.
Okay.
And then the final is you play all 6, and it's the newest book out. So the year is the old book, 2018, and then the finals is 2019's Eternal War missions, but you play all 6, so 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday.
Cool, nice, right, and obviously you used the new chapter approved missions, did you? That came out recently.
Yes, yeah.
And so you're playing those along with the regular secondaries, which are Slay the Warlord, First Strike, and Linebreaker, yeah?
Yep, and that's it. That's the only points available.
And it's deployment-wise, it's completely now you go whole army, they go whole army, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And what I like, what they've done actually with the mission pack, which is a really subtle change, and please correct me if I'm wrong, once you've placed the objectives, you then roll off again, don't you, to see who picks sides.
Yeah. The attacker defender now, so you don't have to lose the roll anymore.
Because it was really annoying where the second person that placed the objectives could then pick the side that they wanted.
Yes.
So you can overload your side with more objectives and then pick that side. It was really annoying, so I'm glad they've put another role into that now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I prefer the book missions where the actual objectives are in set places anyway.
Yeah.
But for the random ones, it does make a difference.
And it was 1750, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 1750.
And talk us through the army that you took.
So I took a Craftworld's army with 3 detachments.
Yep.
So I had a Supreme Command with a Farseer, Spirit Seer, and a Warlock in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a Spearhead.
Yep.
with a autarch, 5 vibro cannons, and 3 night spinners.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a battalion with another Farseer, another Spirit Seer, a unit of Storm Guardians, unit of Rangers, and a unit of Dire Avengers, all just basic.
And which were your? Did you have Wraiths with the list as well?
Yeah, then I had a unit of 9
Wraith
Action
Blades.
Shield Wraiths,
Yeah.
yeah, and a unit of 9 Shining Spears as well.
And what detachment were they in?
They were all in the battalion.
They're all in the battalion. And what Craftworld trait did you go for?
So I did go for 3 different ones. So on the battalion, I went for Relic Hunters and -1 on the Shurikens.
Okay, so what does Relic Hunters do?
When you're within 3 of an objective, you get an extra attack.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Which in the book missions where it's all fighting over objectives and holding them, it means most of the time you're getting extra attacks. It puts the Wraiths up to 4 attacks each.
Mm-hmm.
Spears are getting 3 each. The Exarch's getting 4.
Mm-hmm.
You suddenly start getting like crazy amounts of attacks when you combo it with some of the psychic powers and stratagems.
Yeah. So I normally go for the +1 to charge with those guys.
Yeah.
And the +1 attack, but you've gone for the Shuriken, haven't you?
Yeah. So I use my Wraiths more as I buff them up so they're stupidly hard to kill, and they hold the objectives and protect the characters.
Okay, so they're like your character shield, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And then what was the other Craftworld you went for?
The Supreme Command was the 1s count as 2s. It Children of Proficiency or something like that.
Yep.
And +2 move on the fly.
Nice. Okay, so you've
because
got
it
ridiculous.
Just gives you a little bit more reach. Yeah, like I've got a 24-inch move in jet bikes when they advance to go and nick objectives and things.
Yeah, and obviously that increases your range of smites and stuff, doesn't it? Then in
Doom as well,
Executioners and Jinx, yeah.
Yeah, and then the one with all the spearhead was ignores cover and Master Crafters, which is like the Master Artisans. So reroll a hit and a wound.
Okay, cool. And you've got a little bit of a story about that, haven't you, Ben?
Yeah, so game 1, I played my friend Steve Pardo from SM Battle Reports.
Yep.
We played the game out. And then at the end, after we put the results in, the guy who was running the event came over and said that the list didn't meet the tournament pack guidelines to do with the painting.
Right.
They recently changed it in the finals pack. It's different to the heats one. You have to actually have like noticeable painting differences. So like basically, I asked him, all I would have had to done is paint the guns red, and it would have been fine.
So you could have had some guns red, some guns yellow, other guns blue.
Yeah. So if I'd painted my night spinners and my vibro cannons red instead of my scheme, which is like blue on the guns, that would have been a big enough difference, and that would have been fine.
I mean, obviously I know why they've done it, but
it's not the fact that I couldn't do it game-wise, it's the fact that it didn't look correct. Like, it would have no impact on the actual game at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's super clear as well with you've obviously got to draw a line somewhere. I can see why they do it, but
yeah,
it's incredibly frustrating.
I explained to my opponents before the games what everything does, and if they're not sure, they've only got to ask. And I didn't say anything throughout the rest of the tournament, but I played multiple people who had the same style list as me.
Yeah.
Just painted as they like to paint it.
Yeah.
Some of them made the cabinets for best painted army, and they had multiple detachments.
Yeah, like
the same
different,
as I did.
Like different chapters or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I play in lots of competitive events, so I just go with whatever, if they give me the army list, that's what I'll play against. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I mean, I think the LVO have really upped their painting standard now, so I think that's going to be something that I'm obviously taking pure Blood Angels. All of my guys, the way that they're painted, obviously the Sanguinary Guard are gold, the Scouts are red, but my cursors are black with red like shoulder pads on. Yeah. And obviously I've painted that same red as the red everywhere else. So hopefully, I mean, if somebody says, because I've painted them as like, equivalent of like Death Company. They just look cooler in that black armor.
Mm.
But if somebody gets funny about that, then it's a little bit daft. But I can kind of see why people want different color schemes per chapter, so then it's a little bit less confusing for your opponent or whatever. But with yours, it's not too bad because obviously you've got this lot stuck at the back. This is re-rolling hits, ignoring cover, right? So all the tanks and
Yeah.
artillery is doing this. My psychers are doing that, and my 2 big units are doing this. So that aside, what did you choose then? So what was then? So they came over, said
So
your list doesn't match the painting requirements, or sorry, vice versa.
basically the
What was
chaps
then
at
the
Warhammer
outcome?
World. The chaps at Warhammer World he's a decent guy. The guy come across to me and he said, "Look, I don't want to dock you any points for the painting for the
Mm-hmm.
list, but you've got to pick 2 to stick with for the rest of the tournament."
Yep. So what ones did you
Or
go for?
so I went for the Master Artisan, the reroll a hit and a wound.
Yep.
I can't remember what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
The Eldar one.
Yep.
That, and then I also went for the Relic Hunters because I think it's really good in the Warhammer World format.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
makes
cool.
the Shining Spears just silly.
So you couldn't get your ignore cover, and then you lost your like psychic
One's
power buffs.
counter 2s, which was quite big in the one game at the end.
Okay. Right.
And ignore cover. If you don't have ignore cover on Night Spinners, don't take them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because they're just terrible if they don't have ignore cover. So it was like I was playing with about a 70% army, I reckon, towards for the next 4 games.
Yeah, and you nearly took the Seer Council, didn't you? Like you did in the Heat, because you went undefeated in the Heat, didn't you, with the Seer Council?
Yeah. I think it just struggled when I took it in the Heat. There was only Ultramarines and who was the first 2 releases? Ultramarines,
White Scars,
and White Scars out.
Yeah.
Now there's so many like Imperial Fist, Iron Hand firepower lists, and the terrain isn't that
dense, should we say?
That dense at Warhammer World.
Yep.
So it was like, if I can't hide everything, if I lose a 200-point Spirit unit, I've still got a game. Whereas if I lose a 550-point unit that's doing everything on the first turn, I haven't got a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That was the reason I didn't take it.
Yeah, because you got a little bit more versatility with the, you can put the spears in deep strike, or you can put the wraiths in deep strike. You can obviously double move them, and if you lose a unit, it's not too bad because you got another backup. But with this, the Seer Council, if you lose that, it's game over, innit? Let's be honest.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's have a quick chat about then the. What were some of the ways that you prepared for this event? What were you doing in the lead up? So just a couple of things that obviously you were thinking about, what you needed to do. So obviously you've mentioned there you were thinking about the terrain, weren't you? So you're tailoring your list to the terrain.
The terrain. I also played quite a lot of practice games against Space Marines because I was expecting the majority of the armies to be Space Marines.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I only played Space Marines once over the weekend. I actually didn't mind playing any of the Space Marines.
Yeah, because your list is built to just absolutely murder Marines.
Like in the first game, my Shining Spears went in on the first turn, quickened across. And with the Spears and the Night Spinners, because I was using the list as it was designed, I killed something like 25, 28 intercessors and 3 of the characters on my first turn and tied the Dreadnought, the Leviathan, in combat.
Yeah. In that, I mean, the Wraith Guard as well, just when they get a wrap on, Marines cannot kill them. So they're just, the Wraiths just then wrap and trap everything and just like make a conga line and tag everything. And then from behind that, you can just smite or cast powers and use all your, your artillery to really good effect. So it's a list to absolutely murder Marines. And obviously that's what I found when I went and did that RTT and I came third. Although I went undefeated, I played Harlequins game 1, but then I played Imperial Fist game 2 and Iron Hands game 3, and this was pre-chapter approved before any points drops. And the list was incredible then with the Wraith Guard. They were just insane. But now with the decrease in points, I can also fit in Shining Spears into that list, which is ridiculous.
And it's the fact that when you get a lot of Space Marine players huddle like 20 to 30 intercessors in a ball.
Yeah.
And if you do that against a unit of Shining Spears and you just advance the Doom Farseer up, you doom the 10-man unit, the biggest unit.
Mm-hmm.
The Shurikens all but annihilate that, and then the Spears go for a 5-man unit, and they probably kill that in the shooting as well.
Yep.
Because it's -4, you've guided it.
2 damage each.
And then usually, because it's a book mission, they put the 25 intercessors on an objective.
Yep.
So when you charge in, the Relic Hunters kicks in.
Yep.
I've empowered the Spears for +1 to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I use the Dissident stratagem for exploding 6s, which is exploding 5s and 6s.
Yep.
And they're chucking out 3 times 8, so 24 attacks plus the X-Arc.
Yep.
And then they're exploding a third of those attacks.
Yep.
You're getting like another 8 hits. So I'm getting 32 hits on average.
Yep.
That kill Primus Marines on a 3.
Yep. Because they get the -4, so straight through.
It's -4, 2 damage. If they don't have a feel no pain, it's just brutal. It just picks them up. They have no answer to it, and you're not worried about the Overwatch because you're on a 2-up invuln with a reroll. And so then you take the whole army shooting.
Yep.
And you're in.
And then you can obviously just get a wrap on another unit, can't you? Because you've got the maneuverability with the charges and the pile-ins and stuff, so you can easily wrap another unit. Yeah.
I give the Spears away turn 1, the Marine game I played.
Mm-hmm.
It was more important to branch out and touch the Leviathan with the double storm cannons.
Yeah.
Just to stop it shooting.
Mm-hmm.
That was more important than wrapping anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that thing does terrible damage to my vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's really good. And obviously we played a game, didn't we, where I used the Eldar. This was pre me taking Blood Angels to the LVO, and I was going to take Eldar, very similar list to what you just ran. And you used a version of like Richard Siegler's Tau list, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think we called it at the end of turn 1, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm obviously not as good a Tau player as Richard Siegler, that's for sure. But I had no answer to the spear unit. I used it similar. My game 3 at the heats this weekend at the finals. I played Tau. Really nice chap, and he had a unit of missile broadsides, Riptides, commanders and drones and fire warriors. He went first. I just deployed everything out of range. I think I gave him 1 weapons platform. He killed that turn 1.
Yeah.
And then I moved and quickened the spears across. Used the night spinners and the spears to shoot the unit of drones out that was around the broadsides.
Yep.
So killed that, and then charged the whole army. And on Overwatch, I lost 1 spear.
Wow.
And then I wrapped the broadsides.
Yeah.
And I didn't doom them, because then my attacks, he passed the few that did wound on the broadsides across the drones.
Yeah.
And I just sat there wrapped all game. I sat there for 3 turns hugging
just wrapping
this. Them. Kill a broadside, then hug the next one, and then kill it, and just move through the whole army doing that. And the night spinners were just picking the drones up.
Perfect. Man, that is really, really good. So let's go into then. Obviously, you had loads of test games. You looked at obviously you've played the tables before with the terrain. Now I know you hadn't played too many of the missions, had you? The new missions, because I think 3 of them are old and then 3 of them are new, aren't they, from the previous chapter?
That's the one thing I wish I'd done more of, was read them.
Yeah.
A bit more before I went, because I lacked. Well, it's hard with Eldar anyway, but you need some hard to kill characters to put on the objectives for one mission.
Yep.
And then you need decent troops for the one mission, because only troops can score.
Yep. Or you have to go second.
Yeah. So like, my game 2 was against Chris and his orcs. In
Chris's, who we've mentioned before, who's part of VT, and I played him at the LGT.
Cracking bloke.
He's so funny, and we'll have to get him on at some point. But he then, I think he won the best painted in the heat. I don't know how he got on in the final.
He was nominated for best army. He didn't win it.
Oh,
A beautiful Deathwatch army won it, to be fair.
Okay. And his orcs are just, yeah, I mean, the paint job is incredible on those. So before we go into each of that, what I want to do, Ben, is, so game one, you're up against Crimson Fists, right?
Yeah.
So what was the mission?
The mission was each of the objectives was worth a point at the end of the battle round if you held it.
Okay, so there's a big priority there for going second, isn't it?
There is.
Because you can just match, like it's like ITC hold more, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, but I knew in this game I needed first turn.
Okay, so you went for more of, rather than playing the mission per se, you went more for, can I break my opponent's back so that they can't play the mission that way?
Playing against the new Marines and how strong they are with Eldar, you almost want to go first just to alpha as much off the board as you can.
Yeah.
So like I did get turn one. And
so what was your strategy then? So how did you deploy? Did you deploy aggressively?
Yeah, very aggressively, because I won the roll, so I deployed to go first. So my spears were right on the line.
Yep.
My night spinners were hid behind a building.
Yep.
My vibros had decent range of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And actually deployed the wraiths on the board behind a ruin.
Yep. Okay.
Because I prefer my stuff on the board
rather than a deep strike.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Did he have a Thunderfire cannon?
No, he actually didn't.
Okay, because that's the big thing that the Wraith Blades suffer from, is because obviously they can tremor shell them. But apart from that, okay, cool. So you deployed aggressively. What were your target priorities for turn one then? What was your thinking in regards to, okay, I've analysed these threats in his list. What were your big hitters that you needed to remove off the table as quickly as you could? Or what do you need to work around, essentially?
So he had 2 double las cannon dreads that were hid at the back behind a ruin. I'd worked out with some measurements. Unless I sent the spears all the way over there, they were pretty much ungettable for my army, so I just left them. Okay. They're going to come out. If they point at a night spinner like they did, they just delete it anyway.
Okay.
And then on the right flank, there was a Leviathan. And that was close enough to the ball of the whole army. Basically was 30 or 35 intercessors with 4 characters in the middle of them.
Yep.
And a unit of scouts backed by the dreadnoughts.
Okay.
So I knew with my Relic Hunter spears and the night spinners that I would kill almost all of the Primus troops.
Yep.
So I killed all the Primus guys par 2, I think, on my turn. And then that point, it's hard for your opponent to score the points for the objectives as well, because they've literally just got some dreadnoughts left.
Yeah.
It worked really well. I mean, they killed intercessors so fast.
Okay. Yeah. So that was your thing, was literally get rid of all the intercessors
and tag the Leviathan. That was my turn 1 plan.
Okay. And you did that well. So then how did then he retaliate? What kind of then happened?
So Pardo used his Steve. He used his characters, and he backed his Leviathan out. He used his characters to attack the spears in combat.
Yep. So
he had to use all the characters, and he had to use fight again and everything to get them down to like 2 or 3 left.
Okay.
And then I did fail morale with them and lost them, but I was happy at that point. They'd done what I needed them to do.
Okay. Yep.
And then his las cannon dreads came out from behind the building, and they just nuked the night spinner I couldn't hide, and I knew they were going to do it. So then that was his turn.
So then your turn 2. What was your target priority turn 2?
Was to try and get something to tag the Leviathan again.
Okay.
I can't remember what did I get. I think I got the wraiths in to touch it.
Okay.
I killed the Crimson Fist chapter master. Pedro Cantor.
Yeah, Cantor.
I killed him with the wraiths, and then used the charge move to tag the Leviathan again, so it couldn't shoot. And then I shot all the vibros, night spinners, and stuff into the dreadnoughts, and I managed to kill 1 dreadnought.
Yep.
Because Steve had used the half damage strat on the other one, which
kept
makes night spinners just a waste of time shooting it.
Yeah.
So again, I all game I didn't kill the Leviathan. That was the only thing left at the end when we decided to call it, because I'd got ahead on the points at that point.
Yeah. Okay. And did you call it turn 2 then? Did you?
No, we called it turn 4.
Okay.
To be fair to Steve, he played really well after losing all those intercessors to score a lot of points. It was quite a close game until eventually there was just the Leviathan left. So wherever I went, I was going to outscore.
Okay. Oh, nice. Oh, good. That's really good that, someone can come back from that, which is fantastic. So great to, hear that. So, okay, game 2 then, you're up against Chris, right, with his orcs.
I was, yeah.
Did you go first or second?
Again, I chose to go first because the terrain, I would have preferred to go second in this mission if there was more terrain to hide my tanks.
Yep.
But he had 3
Yep.
Relic shock attack guns.
Yep.
And a looters as well. So
Yep.
the Relic shock attack guns, if they hit, they're -5.
Yep.
And they would just pick up all my tanks, which is the Night Spinners are going to clear a lot of orcs away in that game.
Yep.
So again, I chose to go first. Chris had deployed his 3 shock attack guns. We actually had a chat about this after, on top of one of the Mechanicum ruins, and put 30 Gretchen in front of them.
Okay.
But there was enough space to quicken the spears up onto the level with them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So turn 1, I did that, used the Night Spinners and the spears to just eliminate like 40 of his 50 Gretchen.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing in front of the characters, so the spears picked up all 3 Relic shock attack guns on the first turn.
That's brutal.
Yeah. And then I just spread out to deny the jumps a bit.
Yeah.
But in the end, Chris got me because he just kept scoring the hold more with the troops, and the weakness of the army was my troops are just awful, and the 5 vibro cannons did nothing in that game. They actually give away the kill because it's kill more and hold more with troops in that mission.
Yeah.
And all of his squads are massive 30-man boy squads, so they take quite a bit of
going through
concentrated firepower to kill them.
Yep.
So you're only killing 1 or 2 units.
Yep.
So if he can kill 2 of my little platforms, or a unit of Dire Avengers and a platform, he's actually stopping me scoring the kill more.
Yeah.
So he actually just played the mission really well. But I mean, at the end of the game, I think Chris had his Gorkanaut and 1 weird boy left.
Right, and that was it.
And I had most of my army. All my wraiths were alive. He'd killed my spears and my troops, basically. So everything else was alive.
Who was your MVP in that game?
The spears did so much damage again turn 1, but the wraiths, they picked up, because he brought 1 back with Green Tide. I didn't quite have enough to kill it in the 1 turn.
Yeah.
So during the course of the game, the wraiths killed probably nearly 90 boys.
Wow.
And they lost no one. You couldn't. With Protect, they got a 2-up armor save.
Yeah.
So the Orc boys, if they were Chris didn't even charge him. He knew he was wasting his time. He'd charge other things.
Yeah.
And then they'd go in as a counter charge and just pick the whole unit up.
Yeah. I think the only thing that you can do is, and also, this is the funny thing against orcs with the Wraith Blades, with the axes. A lot of people look at them and think, oh, they're -1 to hit, they're hitting on 4s. Well, you don't even need to use the axe against orcs. You can just use your regular fists, can't you?
Yeah.
And just attack with your regular attacks, because you're still strength 6, and they're going to get a 6-up save anyway. So,
And with Empower, you're going to hit on 2s.
Exactly. So you're hitting on 2s now, exploding 5s and 6s, and then there's no minus, but you're still wounding on 3s regardless, because you're strength 5 or 6 anyway, versus their 4.
And if you can string 1 onto an objective, and charge.
Yep.
9 of them's doing 36 attacks.
So what maybe Chris could have done is charged in the edges of the Wraith Blades.
Yeah.
Because the Wraith Blades can't fall back in charge. So by keeping a unit in combat with you at all time would have really slowed down their progression. And if you just charge the end line, then you're only going to get 2 or 3 that can actually fight. And that's probably what he should have done.
You can fall back and charge if you spend command points, though, can't you?
It's 2 CPs, isn't it?
Yeah.
And with your list, you're not you don't have them in an absolute abundance, do you?
No. I got more than when I used the Seer Council, because I don't actually need them. They're literally just for each turn for Seer Council for +1 to cast, and then occasionally if I want to do exploding 6s.
Yeah, nice.
I've got a little bit spare in this list.
Okay, cool. So Chris did well. Obviously, really played the mission, focused on just killing, your real small, hard to hit units.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice. And then just got the hold more basically every turn.
yeah. No,
Do you
he played a great game. To be
do you
fair to him.
think then, Ben, what you should have done in that game was hid all your vibros and hid all of your troops, and just sacked off the objectives completely, but ensured you got the kill more every turn?
Yeah,
Um,
I thought about it afterwards, and that was the right move. Basically, I should have spent 3 command points and put all the troops in reserve,
yep,
and then waited till I'd killed most of his army
to bring them out.
and brought them in brought them in on turn 3 and hid them behind the army if needed, and just waited to move out. It, I hadn't played that mission for a long time, so
Yeah.
on reflection, that's exactly how I should have played it.
And that's good to go over it, right? It's why I keep a notebook of every single game I play, and I note down exactly all my lessons learned.
Yeah. Well, you only learn by playing.
You do.
I mean, I had to give a couple of vibro cannons away just because how my list has such little screening.
Yeah.
So they were starting at the corners of my deployment and pushing out 6 inches. They even advanced the first turn, didn't even shoot.
To deny the jump, yeah?
To deny space, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I find, well, I was talking to you about this earlier, I find that now Eldar Rangers don't actually get to be scouts like everybody else.
Yeah.
We have very little cheap options to push people out.
Yeah.
From getting to you.
Yeah. Maybe swooping hawks are potentially the way forward. I could see a use for them for sure.
But swooping hawks are, I want the if I don't go first, because there's so much like redeploy. We'll get to this in the game 5. It's very hard for me to keep people away on the very tight, like pointy Dawn of War deployment, where you don't have much of a space to deploy in. You can do it with War Walkers as well, but that's really expensive just to push people back.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So game 3 then, who you're up against?
That was the Tau one that I was talking about.
Okay, and what was your target priority in that one?
Literally just shoot drones and then lock something in combat. I don't care what it is, whether it's a fire warrior character.
So what you're doing then is you're looking at that table, you're looking at how they've deployed, and you're thinking, right, what unit is looking like I can wrap it, and which unit there is the least surrounded by drones. So which is the least amount of drones I need to kill in order to get within. Am I correct? Is that what you did?
Yeah, and I'm looking for a model that is close to the broadsides so that I can also tag them.
Okay, yeah, and that's what you did. You just tagged, got your wrap on the broadsides then, and it's pretty much game over, isn't it?
Yeah, I wrapped the broadsides, and I managed to wrap them next to an objective for the Relic Hunters.
Yeah.
And then literally, because I declared everything, I put all bar about 3 attacks into drones. I cleared off all the fire warriors. I killed the fire blade guy. Just literally everybody in that vicinity just died.
Yeah, and also
make sure I had space to wrap the broadside up.
In the Riptides, literally, they can put as much shooting as they want into the wraiths because they're not going to kill them because they're toughness 5, aren't they, or 6?
So turn 1, the spears get all the buffs to make them survivable. They jump across and they wrap something.
Yeah.
Turn 2, the wraiths come out, and then as you said, they get buffed up, so they get fortune and protect, and then they become all but unkillable.
Yeah.
To that Tau army because it's got no broadsides left. So I've got a Riptide and a few commanders shooting the wraiths. And I mean, I think the second turn, everything that could shot the wraiths, and I think they killed 1 wraith.
Yeah, and you can just spend your 2 CPs, lightning fast them as well. On top of that, that really hurts the Tau. And with their -2, you're still on your 3+ invulnerable save. And then with the Feel No Pain, they're 2 damage. You've got 3 wounds, so it needs 2 successful Riptide shots to go through. And bear in mind, you're going to get a 5-up Feel No Pain on that. You might save 1 or 2, and all of a sudden you've got another Wraith alive. So incredibly resilient there to the Tau. So it's a really hard counter for them. What mission was that out of interest?
That was... How many objectives we had? I think that's the 6 objective one.
Is it where they disappear?
Which one was that? Trying to think through my games. No, not the one they disappear. That was later on. I think this is the 6th one, and you get a point for holding each one at the end of the turn.
Okay.
Just 6 objectives, like spread over the board.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But because I pinned him in his deployment zone, I was holding 4 of the 6 objectives every turn as well.
And Tau have limited sniper fire, so I can imagine you were using a lot of your characters, weren't you, for just getting those those points.
Positioning on them. Yeah.
Nice. Well, good. Love it, Ben. So game 4 then. Who are we up against?
Okay, so this is the one where the objectives disappear.
Okay, so this is the one where you've got number 1. I think they've got number 6, and then turn 2, turn 2 disappears, doesn't it? Turn 3, number 3, and they're random, aren't they? Which one's which?
Yeah, that's it. So again, I'm playing like a Chaos Plague Bearer horde.
Okay.
With some Flamers of Tzeentch.
Right.
And again, I won the role to deploy first, and I deployed, and then my opponent deployed, and he didn't want to seize because the mission actually suits him to hold the objectives.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a sensible move anyway, because it's he's playing that Plague Bearer. He had something like 60 cultists as well, and they were, I can't remember which Chaos Legion it is. I think it's Night Lords. He had a character that I couldn't fall back from.
Oh yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, which he used really well actually. So I went first again.
Yep.
The spears got powered up, jumped across the board, quickened over the top of his Plague Bearers, and there was a gap that I could land in.
Right.
Where I could get close to the guy who gives miasma to the Plague Bearers.
Yeah. And
the Demon Prince Warlord.
Right. Okay.
So turn 1.
Yeah.
I put Doom.
Yeah.
No, actually, I failed Doom onto the Plague Bearers, but I failed it. That's the only power I failed. Everything shot those Plague Bearers.
Yep.
Including the shurikens from the spears.
Yep.
And I killed something like 25 of the 30-man unit. There's 5 left.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the spear shots killed an Exalted Flamer, which was closest to me.
Yep.
I chucked all the spears at that. And then I charged, again, put a guy next to 3 inches of the objective.
Yep.
And I killed the Demon Prince Warlord, the miasma guy, in combat that turn as well.
Oh, that's pretty much game then, isn't it, at that point?
Yes, it took a massive chunk away. And it meant that because you have one big unit of 30, then a unit of 25, and a unit of 20.
Yeah.
So I went for the 31 first.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the one that's going to get the buffs better from the -2.
Yep.
Once I kill the miasma guy, the 25-man unit's only -1 to 20 or less.
Yep.
So actually, with my psychic phase, I can knock it to 19.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like with Executioner, I can get them.
Yep.
Execution and a couple of smites, I can get them below. So there's never a -to hit in that game anymore.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, that was really good. Mate, that is fantastic. And I think really you being able to analyse that is just testament to you having a lot of reps in yourself with Chaos, in Miasma Pestilence, in those Nurgle, Nurgle boys.
I love miasma.
So I think that is fantastic on your part to look at their army and think, right, you've left me you've got your biggest strength is your -1 to hit, because Eldar have got only reroll failed hits, not all hits like the Space Marines.
Not all hits. Yeah.
And he's obviously given you a little cheeky gift there. How he's done that, I mean, that's a huge mistake, isn't it, on his part?
But, yeah, we spoke about it afterwards, and he agreed with it because, I always talk with my opponents after my games. Usually, whether I win or lose, what could I do better, or what could you have done better if they ask.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll give you the characters too easily, and I was like, yeah, because they could have just if he'd filled that gap behind with just 30 cultists, I couldn't land there.
Yep.
But I still may have got there because I cleared 30 Plague Bearers out of the way. So you would almost need to wrap with 2 units.
Yeah, and that's what you need to do in that list. Like, I think hopefully he'll go away from that, learning that lesson, and he'll go.
The spears caught so many people out all weekend because you don't plan for the massive movement.
No.
And then the sheer damage they do when they get there.
Yeah, and that's something you need to be doing is is checking those things in, like we talk about a lot on the mentorship program with threat ranges, and we go over every unit that can do this kind of stuff, because it's so crucial that you know about it, so you can just go, right, I'm just going to deploy this far away, so you're going to need to do this. Or if you can't do that, the way that I used to play against Magnus, when he can, because the rules got changed, didn't they, so that flyers couldn't fly over in the charge phase, and then it got put back in again. So what I would do there, because Magnus can obviously double move, is that I would literally measure his base out and then have rows and rows of guys, because what you can then do is make sure that he cannot land for the second time within an inch of any of your models.
Yeah.
And you just block out the board.
Yeah.
I find that you just block out that board, so he can only move once. He can move twice if he wants, but it's just going to make sure the only thing he can then charge is, the front line, because he can't place his base anywhere else. And that's kind of what you got to do with the spears. The spears have a pretty big footprint, so they have to place all of their models still within coherency. So you can be looking at your deployment thinking, right, where am I going to put my models down to literally screen these guys out from? So I think that's really good, mate. Nice, I love it.
Yep, that was good.
Cool. So game 5 now, mate. Who are you up against?
So
what was your target priority?
Called Jeppe from Norway. Great chap, and he had another army. I played lots of armies that were in the best painted for the weekend, so his was best painted, nominated as well.
Nice.
Harlequins.
Nice.
He had 2 units of 6 Skyweavers.
Yep.
And then 4 of the transport vehicles full of troops, and then all your normal characters you see, like the Solitaire and.
Yep.
Again, I won the role to go first. I actually wanted to go second in this mission because Harlequins are so fast. But Jeppe knew that, and he actually chose second turn. He didn't even try and seize again.
Okay.
Which made the game extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I did go first. Again, I jumped the spears straight across the board. Jumped Doom across the board.
Yeah.
Killed a whole unit of 6 Skyweaver jet bikes. A Shadow Seer. Killed him as well. And then I killed 2 bikes out of the other 6-man unit with the Night Spinners.
So why were you going for the bikes, not the transports? So again, I'm trying to get that sort of.
Okay. So I go for the bikes because they're going to kill the Night Spinners.
Right. Because they've got the haywire,
yeah, and the Night Spinners are going to pick the Harlequin troops up wherever they hide.
So you're looking at this then thinking, okay, your strongest asset in this matchup is your Night Spinners, but he's got a bit of a trick up his sleeve, which is all this haywire stuff. So you can use your fastest moving units to take out his trump card, right?
That's it. Exactly it.
So you're literally removing his trump card so that your trump card, your Night Spinners, can really do what they're born to do, which is no matter where those Harlequins move to, no matter what terrain they're hiding in, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's it. I've got a 48-inch zone with a 16-inch move, so I can 50-inch hit anything on the board.
And the worst thing about the Night Spinners, like you said, is they've got no minus to their AP unless you roll a 6, but against Harlequins, it doesn't matter. Because they've only got a 4 up in run, so it's regardless.
So you're hitting them on 3s, re-rolling 1s, re-rolling a hit, and then you're wounding them on 2s, re-rolling a wound.
So super interesting why he put his haywire bikes on the board then, not in Deep Strike. If he knew he was going second.
Yeah. I suppose he lose if he doesn't have. So if he put both units of his Skyweavers in reserve, that first turn that he doesn't go first, he would lose all his transports and troops with them inside.
Yeah.
Because I'd have no bikes to go for, so I would just kill the transports and troops.
Yeah.
And then he'd have nothing that could hold the objectives. He actually played it really well. So it was a mission with, so your one's worth 1.
Yep.
The 2 in the middle are worth 2, and your opponent's is worth 4.
Yep.
So this Jeppe was a really good player. So like he was winning all the way through the game. He actually played a move on me turn 4, which I've used myself in the past with Venoms, but I thought it was great. So he charged all my tanks, my Vibers and everything with a transport with 1 wound left.
Yep.
I needed to Overwatch because if I didn't, he puts it in the middle of my Night Spinners and nothing shoots the next turn.
Yeah.
But if I Overwatch it, I kill it and his troops get out on my 4-point objective
Right. Yep.
at the end of the battle round,
Yeah. Of course.
which was
Yeah.
really well played. So
Yeah.
he did that, and at this point, I'm something like 15-3 down.
Right. Okay.
But then I managed to get it so I scored maximum points in the one turn. Then I tabled him and got another maximum point.
Right. Okay.
And to win it, I actually had to quicken. Quicken had to go off on my Farseer to nick his 4-point objective on the last turn.
Right. Yeah.
And I passed Quicken
Yeah.
with no command points left and jumped my Relic because I got the Relic on the Farseer to make him fly.
Yeah.
And he actually jumped onto the 4-point objective, and then the Vibro Cannons killed the last Shadowseer. And that's how close this game was. It was
wow.
like literally, down to the wire. It was one of my favourite games I've had in a long time.
Oh, nice. Because I mean, if I was that Harlequin player, I'd probably put one unit of bikes in Deep Strike in reserve. And because this is what I found really effective at the ETC when I played, and then just made sure that all of my transports were so far apart that if you were going to go in with your spears, you can shoot one, but then you'd be too far away to charge another one. And then your Night Spinners can shoot one, but you can probably hide a couple anyway for out line of sight from the Vibros. But then the Night Spinners have to fire at a transport. They're wounding on 3s, and they're -1 to hit, and they're also then you're getting a good invuln save and an armor save. So that means, I don't know, I think that would have probably been a slightly better play, but it's interesting to see that he's done it that way. But it's horses for courses. Obviously, he knows that army well, and like you said, he's a very good player.
Yeah,
so
he deployed the Skyweavers really far apart.
Yeah.
One behind one ruin, completely out of line of sight, and one in his deployment zone.
Perfect, yeah.
And I went for the one in the deployment zone because I could see a Shadowseer was sticking out who would be slightly closer to me.
Yeah.
Once I'd killed the Skyweaver, so I could take a bit of his psychic away as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But so in that game, I took the middle of the board with the buffed up Wraiths on turn 2.
Yeah.
And he comes in with the Solitaire and blitzes in. And this Solitaire, I think he might have killed a Wraith. And then in my turn, I attacked him with all the Wraiths. I did something like 23 wounds.
Yep.
And he failed 1 save.
Oh my god.
It was like doing a me on myself because I've done that with my unit so many times. I just had to turn around and laugh. And then the same Solitaire fell back from the Wraiths because they can fall back and charge.
Yep.
And he wanted to charge my character Warlord.
Yep.
But because I'd surrounded him with Vibro Cannons, he has to declare all the Vibro Cannons because he can't get within an inch.
Yep.
And the Vibro Cannons with the Master Crafters killed the Solitaire on Overwatch.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, wow.
It's just one of those really crazy games, but it was really good fun.
Oh, nice. So that was game 5, was it? And then game 6?
Yeah, game 6 I played a guy called Stephen, Scottish guy. And he was running a really funky Grey Knights, Custodes guard list.
Okay.
And we're playing the mission where only characters score, and they score for progressive turns on the objective.
Right, yep.
And we get the pointy Dawn of War frontline assault.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 1 ruin.
So what was your...
in the far left corner.
So what was his list?
3 Dreadnoughts.
Yeah. 3 shield captains.
3 shield captains. And he had loads of the Strike Marines that can redeploy everywhere.
The Inceptors, yeah?
Yeah, and then just a basic guard battalion.
Okay. So he's got a lot of characters there.
It's a fantastic army for this mission because he's got he said himself after, he's got 900 to 1,000 points of characters.
Yeah.
In the army. Mm-hmm. And they're not easy to squish characters either. They're
nope.
3 up Invon Dreadknights.
Mm-hmm.
He played it well again. I couldn't push him back because the deployment was so tight.
Right.
To get out of line of sight, and then obviously he went first.
Right.
And redeployed a load of stuff.
Yep.
And he used the psychic power where it hits everything within.
Yeah, Vortex of Doom.
Yeah, and you can do it with a stratagem where you do it on 3 dice.
Yep.
So in this mission, I've got a real dilemma because my characters need to survive.
Yep.
To score the points, but I also need my characters to buff my units to actually be able to be playable.
Yep.
And the problem is, to protect them from the charges, they've got to have units around them.
Yep.
And they get hit by the vortex, and then my characters get hit. And I'm playing with 3 to 4 wound characters.
Yep.
That when he gets, like, on 3 dice, if he gets an 11 plus, it does d6 more wounds.
Oh, that's brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, so he could pick my characters up for fun.
Yep.
The Wraiths held out a long time in the middle of the board. Probably gave me an extra couple of turns to what I should have had.
Yep.
But he played it really well, and he was miles ahead. I think we called it turn 3, turn 4, something like that.
Okay.
I couldn't get back into it. No, he played it really, really well.
And he just literally put those characters on all those objectives and outscored you. Yeah.
What would have been other deployments, I would have been able to keep him off me a bit longer.
Yeah.
With it being frontline assault and with nothing that can deploy outside my deployment zone, like a scout or a Nurglin or something.
Yep.
I've got nothing to push him back.
Yep. Yeah.
Because if I get like scouts or something, I push him back, and I've got turns of shooting him then.
Yeah.
Before he gets there.
Because the Inceptors, there's a lot of them. They're putting out a lot of smites. There's a lot of shots, and with reroll charges and stuff, some of them will get in. And it's going to be extremely exciting to see what the new Psychic Awakening brings the Grey Knights. I've seen some of the releases already, which look fantastic. So I think I'm definitely going to be starting a Grey Knight army very soon.
In that game, I deployed wrong. I should have prepared positions and just deployed right in the center at the back.
Yep.
And used my troops just to screen.
Yep.
And just deployed in the open and just took the -1 and -2 shooting, because the maximum is -2 in that army.
Yep.
And I should have put the spears in reserve that game.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of putting my spears in reserve. I like them being on the board.
Yep.
I find it too limited. I don't like them in reserve. I'll put them in reserve if I've got 2 units.
The difference with GW, you have to nominate your powers, don't you?
You do.
You can't just change them, which is quite a big difference in a lot of matchups. Because Eldar have got so many options, it's nice to be able to pick and choose your powers.
Yeah, because I would have liked a second Jinx, Jinx Warlock in that mission, because he would have been able to take the Dread Knights back down to 4-ups, 5-up bin ones.
So you can protect one unit, Jinx the other, because their class is separate powers. Yeah.
I can't give up protect because the army crumbles.
Yeah.
So I needed the other guy with Jinx. That would have been big in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, even more so than Quicken, because they're coming at you anyway.
Yeah, I didn't use Quicken that game once.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so when you've got a toolbox that you can't really use, it's I do like to be able to switch powers up, or maybe like the +2 to charge is always nice as well if you want to put them in reserve.
Should be part of every mission. You should be able to pick your powers. It's the flexibility to play the army, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's nice to have that sort of tactical sideboard where you think, right, okay, that is part of their. Well, obviously we don't know how it was truly intended to be played, but it's nice to see that you've got that flexibility, which is what I really like about the ITC, being able to change your relics, change the warlord trait you take, those things. I like the fact that. And I agree with, the chapter master stratagem.
Yeah.
Where with the Element Games competition we did, you had to keep it. So if you spend 2 CPs, you had to put that on your roster, on your army list, which I agree with, because you can't have a chapter master in one game.
Suddenly not good enough.
And all of a sudden he's just been demoted, and then the next game he's got promoted again. It's ridiculous. So if you're going to have chapter master, Chapter Master Billy, he can't just go down to Captain Billy in next game,
What would all us Eldar players give for our Autarch to be a Chapter Master?
Oh, I know.
My army would be disgusting if it was a Chapter Master.
Autarchs are just so overcosted.
So expensive for reroll ones. It's like... Yeah, it should be about 50 points.
Yeah, and what are they, like 70 odd?
He's like 78.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have a gun. He's just got literally a
grenade
combat weapon.
Yeah.
It's like,
and he's not even good with
expensive. It. No, the only reason he was good was when he could take his Banshee mask before.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, mate. Nice. Well, look, I really appreciate you going through all that. So, what have you done differently? Just summarise things. What would have 3 things that you would have done differently?
would have spent a bit more time reading up on the mission.
Okay, and tailored your
I
list a
would have,
bit more to it.
yeah, I would have took out all the vibro cannons.
Yep.
They're very good in games that you're gonna probably win anyway. They're not so good in the games that are a bit tougher.
Okay.
They kind of just,
Yep.
but they are cheap for what they do.
Yep.
I needed some more bodies,
Yep.
and I needed a couple of characters who were a bit harder to move. So, like the likes of Aldrad would have been nice with his 3-up invon.
Avatar.
The Avatar's just a bit expensive at 1750.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I'd like him to work, he's like over 200 points. It's like
The Incarn.
Yeah, the Incarn.
I would definitely have the Incarn.
Yeah, I know you would. I probably would have took some more troops.
Yeah.
Just that it's that difficult thing at the moment I'm finding with Eldar. If you're not playing the sort of like mech Eldar where it's all tanks,
yeah,
is we have no, like a lot of the Chaos and Space Marine this and that now, the Scouts and the Nurglings and all these new stratagems for like the Thousand Suns that are coming out where you can redeploy things 9 away on the first turn. Necrons can do it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have an inbuilt ability in the army to push them back.
No infiltrate.
Which it's only key on the two short deployments.
Yeah,
12 inches and front line.
Mm-hmm.
The long deployments I couldn't care less because I'm just going to screen you out. You're not going to get anywhere near them anyway.
Yeah.
But on those short ones, there's not.
Yeah.
There's not a way to do it. It's so much like if I'd played at the heats in that last mission with frontline, if I'd played something like 18 assault centurions, I would have lost turn 1.
Yeah.
Because there's no physical way to stop them getting in.
Yep.
And they would have just, pre-game moved in and killed everything.
And the cover's not enough, is it? There on the
no,
tables?
The cover's not enough to play around it either. So that's why, like, if I play another GW event, I might whack out my Chaos for it again and use my Nurglings to take the board before the game starts.
Yep. Possessed could be looking pretty sharp for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it'd be quite fun to have a go with.
Definitely. Nice, mate. And then what would your advice be to somebody that's going to do a GW mission? What couple of things would you pick out to say if let's say there's people listening thinking about doing a GT heat with the season coming up, what would you recommend? Number 1, read the rule pack and tailor for it.
And get everything painted correctly so you don't turn up and get your army nullified.
Yep.
Also, you need troops and you need strong characters for GW missions.
Okay. Yep. You
need ways to score. And the most important thing for Warhammer World is take a durable army. Yeah.
Okay. So with that inbuilt durability, whether it's really strong minuses to hit, or invuln saves and feel no pains.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Or like the Orcs do with the 5-up invuln for the whole army.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. You need something that can, because the likelihood is you're not going to be able to hide. You might be able to hide one of your good units, but you're not going to be able to hide everything.
Okay, cool, nice. Mate, honestly, that's absolutely fantastic. So we'll move on to our next segment, which is Better the Meta, and we'll do that after this short break. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the ITC Masterclass, which is over on our website, which is a 5-part series completely for free, where I teach you through the ITC format, the missions, the secondaries, and some top tips to help you succeed in the ITC format. So if you're interested in that, all you need to do is head over to www.vanguardtactics.com/ITC. Also, if you want a copy of Ben's list, then head over to www.vanguardtactics.com/blog/EP2 and you can get your hands on Ben's list, and that is a simple download. Right guys, so we're back from the break, and this week we're going to, on Better the Meta, we're going to be talking about a list that's extremely popular at the moment and is generaled by the number 1 ITC player at the moment, which is Richard Siegler. So Ben, this is a list that you've had your eye on for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I really fancied having a go with it. The only thing that stopped me having a go with it is the sheer money cost of shield drones.
Yeah, and they go for an absolute fortune.
Like two for like 10 quid or something. I'm like, I need 50 of them. I'm like, nah, it's a bit expensive.
So
that's the only reason I haven't really played it.
And the reason why we do Better the Meta, guys, Better the Meta is our part of the show where we look at a list, and myself and Ben and whatever guest I get on will deconstruct that list in terms of what strategies would we play against it, what things do we need to look out for, so that you've got the best chance. So, you're not expected to know about every single codex if you want to be a competitive player going to a tournament, but hopefully the Better the Meta series will help you just have a bit of an idea. Okay, if I'm up against Tau and I'm using this style of list, then these could be some good secondaries to go for, or this could be a good strategy that might help me keep me in this game. We're not saying these strategies are foolproof, but these would be what we would do as experienced players. So the Tau, a few things you need to be aware of. Number one is for the greater good. Now, for greater good, basically, and I might get some of this verbiage a little bit incorrect. I'm literally going off the top of my head here, but Ben, please interrupt me if I'm wrong. For the greater good, if you charge a unit, then a unit within 6 inches of that unit, a friendly Tau unit that is, can overwatch as if they were the one charged. Now, if they choose to do that, then they can't keep doing it. Basically, they can just do it just the once. Now, the thing is there, obviously, you could have a big old line of screening units, and then you could have 3 Riptides behind it, all overwatching. And with the Tau Sept, typically, they'll be overwatching on 5s, and there's ways to obviously give them reroll 1s, because you could shoot your marker lights first in Overwatch, get a marker light off, now you're rerolling 1s, and you're overwatching on 5s, and it's just a huge amount of firepower you're taking in your opponent's turn, or in your turn. You're taking fire in your turn, which is what not ideal. So that Tau player literally gets 2 shooting phases in one battle round, essentially, which is exactly what they want. And the other thing about Tau is a lot of the units now have the fly keyword, so they can just fly away, and it's very, very difficult to wrap and trap those units. So that's another issue that you've got playing the Tau. The other thing that they have as well, which is extremely potent, is the Shadow Sun ability to Callion twice. Is that right?
It is, yeah. We did the Art of War twice, yeah.
And the Callion means that they can re-roll all failed hit rolls, as long as they stand still, which we can talk about later. Or they can Montcar, which means they can move in advance and pretend, or basically count as if they didn't, which is again very effective to get them in their threat ranges. So that really opens up their range. It really opens up their maneuverability. They're extremely good fortified castle with that fly keyword, with the greater good. And they just got a huge amount of damage output, so volume of shots, they can fire indirectly. The only thing they really lack is probably character sniping, because you don't see too many of the sniper drones around. But apart from that, they lack everything in the psychic phase. They've got none, and they've also got no combat either. But when they're in the shooting phase, they are absolutely spectacular at it. So I've seen this list played on stream. Richard Siegler is a fantastic player. Will certainly move the army as its castle, so that it can get into the sort of centre of the board, really open up the firing lanes to make sure that he can get his target priority off on point. The other thing that Tau have is the shield drone mechanic, or drone mechanic. What's that called?
Savior Protocols.
Savior Protocols. And basically a hit roll, an attack which lands on, let's say, a Riptide or a battle suit, can be passed off onto a drone on a 2-ups. So you roll a dice, 2-up, it gets passed over, and then that is converted into a mortal wound. So even if it's D6 damage, it's actually converted into 1 mortal wound, and then that mortal wound is then potentially saved on a 5+ invulnerable save.
Yep.
Because they have a 5-up feel no pain. So yeah, they've got some extremely good resilience there, and the Tau do fantastic even when there's no terrain, because they've got this wall of drones that can just soak up all the damage, which means their heavy hitting units like the Riptides can basically last until turn 3 potentially, without them, their sort of damage output hasn't been impacted yet, and they're just going to get volume of shots out from these 3 Riptides for three good quality turns, and then the commanders sort of come in play. So as an Eldar player, Ben, what are you kind of thinking about in terms of secondaries you're going to be taking?
Well, always against Tau Butcher's Bill, because a lot of the units have little 2-man drone units.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
You should be able to get two kills a turn for the 4 turns you need.
Yep.
As an Eldar player, I like First Strike. I like Old School. Sorry.
Yep.
The only thing that's hard to get against Tau is the Warlord.
Kingslayer. Yep.
Because he's probably going to be with the drones.
Yep.
You might get it very late, but you would have had to have almost killed the whole Tau army.
You've either won by that point, or
you
you
might
don't.
get 3 or 4 points there, but Old School's usually good for Tau because you can usually guarantee First Strike with
and a
Eldar,
last strike as well.
Yeah, and a last strike. Well, a lot of it would depend on what was to. If I was playing Rich's Tau, there's nothing there to trap because the whole army basically flies.
Yep.
It would, because you pick your secondaries like 1 by 1, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So if the Tau player picked Gangbuster on the race, I might actually engineer with the race if there was a building I could hide them in.
Yeah.
Because then you're sort of denying 4 kill points to them to score for yourself.
Yep. Yep.
And
definitely.
I just buff them up in a building and hide them all game, and no indirect fire is going to kill that.
Yep. So you're going to literally maximize your secondaries there. Yeah. Nice.
That's cool. The only way I think about it. There's not much point in taking big game against that sort of list or headhunter because
or Mark for Death.
You're gonna have to go so aggressive with it that you're probably not gonna get it. You're probably gonna end up just dying to it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think, and if I'm playing that list from a Blood Angel perspective, I'm going to be going for something like, mine depends a little bit more on terrain, but I'm going to be going for engineers for sure. I'm probably going to be going for recon, and I'm also probably going to go for, if I'm going second, I'm going to go for ground control. If I'm on a table and a mission where there's multiple objectives, or I'm going to go for King of the Hill if there's much more dense terrain in the middle of the table, and I'm literally just going to bait my opponent out because more than likely, they will have to try and kill me. If they don't, then if they leave me long enough, and if they move forward to try and claim the board, I'll counter. And when I get my charges off, they'll hurt one unit, but with the transhuman physiology I've got with the 2-up save, I can normally charge from touching cover anyway. The Sanguinary Guard are extremely resilient against a lot of the Overwatch. Or I can always send in my Smash Captain first that ignores Overwatch. So he can go in, maybe tie up a broadside or 2, or a riptide or 2, and take that one out of the equation before then the Sanguinary Guard go in. And then what I would do at that point is just decimate as much as I possibly can, fight twice, extra attacks, and just really...
Well, it's like if I go in with my spears, I'm not interested in attacking a riptide. I'm just going to kill as many drones as I can.
Yeah.
Because once the drones are gone, you can whittle the suits down.
Yeah. I mean, mine's a little bit different. So if I can get to take my shots on a riptide, I'll take it. Because with the volume of attacks I'm going to get, I'll go through both the riptide and the drones.
Yeah.
And if I can take it, because I don't have any shooting, so the Saviour protocols aren't really too much of an issue for me in the combat phase. Do you know what I mean? Like in the shooting phase, I don't need to be worried about that. Remember as well, if you are a combat-based army, they have something called is it a Gravitational Drone?
Yeah, it's the one I was saying about on the Pathfinders.
Yeah,
so there's a drone, grav inhibitor drone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so enemy unit charges within 12 of it. It's minus D3 to the charge.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, which is quite big if you don't have buffs to your charges. So say you drop in and you're relying on a 9-inch charge and they've hidden this drone in the building in front of their army, you've got a 9-inch charge minus D3.
Yeah. No, that's exactly brutal. And I'd love to get Richard on at some point. I have spoke to him briefly about coming on the podcast at some point, so it'd be great to get him on to talk in a little bit more depth about some of this stuff. So I think that's fantastic. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea about the Tau matchup, if you're a combat-based army like me with the Blood Angels, or a sort of maneuverability-based list like Ben. And I think even if you're playing something like Iron Hands or Imperial Fists, you're going to be going for the drones, aren't you, as much as you can with your shooting, getting the Butcher's Bill, probably going for the same secondaries that you've said there. And then also, I think the other thing that you can do as well is, so if you have any multi-damage weapons, you want to be putting that on the Riptides, because if they do roll any ones, then the saves have to be taken by the Riptides then. So that's one thing you can do. And any single damage shots you want to be putting on the drones. So volume of shots, put on the drones. Single shots, put on the Riptides. Force your opponent to make those savior protocols, and they will roll some ones. The other thing that you can do as well is make sure that you are out of there when you deploy. If you're deploying first, then you should be getting the first turn, but do not be arrogant to think that they won't seize on you. I think it's like a 17.3% chance that they could seize.
And it happens.
And it does, yeah. Don't talk to me about that, Ben. So if you have deployed on the line like an idiot, and you've deployed in their threat range without them needing to move, they're going to carry on and they're going to pick up your whole army. So what you need to make sure that you're doing is predicting where they're going to place their army. Okay, so you can look and remember, they're not going to really use terrain very much. So what they're going to do is put this big footprint down of an army, literally, look at their tray and think, right, they're going to put that whole area down in one place. Where would I put it if I was them? Predict where it's going to go and then deploy around it. Okay, then if you're going second, they've already put their army down, and just make sure you are outside of their, I think their Riptides have got a 36-inch range with their with their, I can't think of the name of the gun now.
Burst cannon, heavy burst cannon.
With the heavy burst cannon, 36-inch range, so make sure you are 37 inches away and declare your intent. Okay, that means they have to Montcar, which means they have to move and advance in order to be able to hit you. Okay, so they have to waste one of their Art of War things you mentioned, so that they can only then carry on for once rather than twice later on. So you're removing their efficiencies. Okay, so this is some things that you need to be doing. If you can get completely out of their threat range, so getting out of their shooting and their movement range with a, let's say, average advance with some of your longest range firepower, that's exactly what you want to be doing. Staying out of range with your big weapons like your executioners, your tank commanders, your knight battle cannons, and just sit back at range in different directions, so deploy across the board, so that the Tau player has to pick which side they go for, because they want to keep together. So you want to try and spread him apart as much as you possibly can. Okay, so if he goes for one, he cannot target the other. So if he does destroy one tank commander on one side of the board, he won't be able to target the next one. So it just means that you're going to get a lot more efficiency out of your units and a lot more use out of them over the course of those 6 turns. Okay, so hopefully that's given you some good ideas as to how you could play against those armies. Anyway, we're going to leave that there, and we don't have any listener questions for this week's episode, but please, I've got a couple more that myself and Mark answered. And if you do have a question for us for the podcast for this segment, which will be a listener question every single week, then all you need to do is head over to Instagram and head to the tag at the Vanguard Tactics. Give us a follow if you don't mind, and also then just send us a direct message. A couple of you messaged questions, but to be honest, I want to do an entire show on them because they're that detailed of a question and that diverse. So if you've got little snippets and things, one of the questions we had was how to make Wraiths good, and I think we've covered that. Or one of the questions they had were, can Wraiths be competitive? And I think, Ben, you've certainly answered that one today. So where did you come anyway? What was your final placing?
12th, I think, overall.
12th. And that was with, what, 3, 4 and 2?
4 and 2.
That's a good, respectable result, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks so much for coming on again.
Yeah. No, brilliant to come
on. Really appreciate it. So, yeah, head over to, Ben, do you mind sharing your list with us?
No, that's fine.
So if you send it over to me, I will get that out on our blog page. Okay, so if you head over to www.vanguardtactics.com/blog/EP2, and you will be able to then download there'll be a link to downloading Ben's list. So all you need to do is head over that, pop your email address in, and it will be something that you can download and see them for yourself. But Ben, thanks so much, mate, again for your time. See you guys next week, and thanks to everyone who's subscribed, left us a review, and remember that competition to be in for a chance to win that $50 voucher. So do that before the 30th of January. Right, cheers guys, and we'll see you on episode 3 next week.